Howdy y'all, Stock Warden here, back with another video. In today's video, we're doing something a little different. We're doing a collaboration on Archer Aviation and Joby Aviation as well. So on both of these stocks, they have a lot of same similarities on not only the way that the stock has been acting on price point and valuation, but also both of the companies themselves are in a huge race in and of themselves, and they've both been staying neck and neck with each other for the longest on all of their contracts, to how they build, even to their programs, into how they have their eVTOL systems set up. So everything is so similar with these two, and they just come out with a new set out where they are showing both of these having a huge bearish bet surge for Joby and Archer Aviation, just in the head of them being able to roll out their flying taxis. So most of the investors are sourcing and soaring on all of their different flying car stocks. So as most of these companies are getting into their commercialization phase, as in Joby and Archer. So Archer Aviation stock, though, has tumbled to 487, which is down 66% from its 2025 peak. And then also similarly, Joby has fallen down to 883 a share from its peak of $20 a share last year. So Archer Aviation and Joby Aviation has continued to sunk over the past month. So, and their stock trends have both always looked relatively the same, even though Archer Aviation is price pointed a little bit cheaper than Joby Aviation. It still stands that the stock charts look almost completely identical. So, but needless to say, both of them are now trading at their lowest levels in months. So, which is a move that has benefited a lot of short sellers. So, and some of the data is showing that Archer stock has short interest of 123 million shares, which is equivalent to over 18% of those outstanding. So, similarly, Joby has a short interest of 15.4%, with investors having shorted over 100 million shares. So this positioning is happening as the companies advance in their certification process by the FAA. So they both expect that they will launch their aircraft later on this year, with ramping expected to continue in the next few years. So the main concern among investors is that both of these companies have spent billions of dollars in recent years, which has been diluting shareholders in the process. So with profitability still some distance away, investors believe they'll continue to raise capital in the foreseeable future. So Joby Aviation's outstanding shares have increased from 604 million in 2021 to 980 million today. Similarly, Archer's shares have risen from 157 million in 2021 to 757 million in today. So their financing agreements suggest that dilution will end up continuing. So for example, Archer Aviation's deal with Stellantis means the latter will fund Archer's labor cost in exchange for newly issued shares. So, and in addition to the dilution, investors are concerned about the eVTOL's future profitability model and margins. Archer Aviation expects that its second quarter loss is going to be around $170 million, while Joby's loss has jumped to $102 million in just the first quarter. So these fears are explaining why a lot of analysts are tracking the companies and have slashed their outlooks recently. So, I mean, you have one specific outlook that I was able to research on from Concord Genuity. They took Joby's shares to $11.5 price target from the previous $15.5 price target. And then similarly, Morgan Stanley also slashed their outlook. So as a result of the consensus target amongst all of the analysts, the target is roughly about $11 a share, which is just slightly higher than the $8.83 for Joby Aviation. So, but then you also have in the same accord, Archer Aviation is looking where they have been slashed by Needham and Goldman Sachs, where that just happened recently as well, where they've been transpired from $10 and $12 a share. Now they've been pushed down to $6 and $8 a share, which the 8 a share is still really profitable for Archer Aviation, but $6 a share would still put it just underneath where it was just 2 months ago. So with all of that, it's really pushing hard on how well these companies are going to continue to do as far as the stock evaluation goes. But with them continuing to try to push forward and grow the company, they're steadily diluting the shares and bringing down the profit for investors. So it kind of seems they're having to play a really hard balancing act on both companies where they're trying to acquire enough, well, I don't know how to say it. They're trying to acquire enough business with a lot of other partnerships to be able to continue building their system and funding their business to where they can get to full commercialization and be able to continue putting out what they've been promising for the past couple of years. So with that, it's not really looking all that good for most investors, yet that's still typically for the short term. So because as the companies will grow and then they'll start to make their own profits, especially whenever commercialization happens, hopefully towards the end of this year as they're stating, then there will be plenty of profit to be had from these companies. So if you are looking for a long hold stock and you are more of a buy and set and forget, then these two stocks would definitely be one I would recommend to look into, and also go back into my library of catalogs for Joby and Archer Aviation, so then you can kind of catch up onto where they're at today and where they've been moving. So, but as it stands now, both of the companies are still standing firm on their growth track where they are still moving forward, still trailblazing a trail that has not been made out yet. So, because this is something that hasn't been created or done yet in, well, the entire world. So, they're paving the way for a whole new future, and it is possibly going to be a great one, or it could crash and burn. So, with all that being said, that's all I have for these two stocks and these two companies for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So it definitely helped grow the channel as well. So, this is the Stock Warden, riding off. See y'all come back now, you hear?